Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something that's, well, really reshaping healthcare automation.
Definitely. It's everywhere, it feels like.
We've got this comprehensive report, the Global Healthcare Automation Market Report 2025 from Cognitive Market Research. And it paints a really interesting picture.
It really does. They're estimating the global market size will hit uh, USD 324.5 million in 2025. That's a
Yeah.
big number.
$43.5 billion, basically. So our goal today is to, get behind that number, understand the drivers, the regional differences, and really why this matters to you.
Exactly. It's not just about, say, surgical robots, though. That's a piece of it.
hmm
The report projects serious expansion. They think it could reach USD 728 to 32.85 million by 2033.
Wow, so that's quite a jump, nearly doubling.
It suggests some pretty fundamental shifts are happening.
Right. And the report gives a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 6.50% between 2025 and 2033. So a steady, healthy growth. Okay, what's actually powering this? It's got to be more than just tech is cool, right?
Oh, absolutely. The report points to a couple of key things. First, just the increasing use of both robotics and AI across the board in healthcare.
Okay.
Think AI helping read scans or robots handling lab samples. And second, specific progress in medical robotics itself, making more complex procedures possible. That's a big boost.
So it's touching everything from like admin tasks right through to actual surgery and lab work. Let's break it down globally then. Where's the biggest chunk of this market right now?
Right now, North America is the leader. It holds over 37% of the global revenue.
Over a third. That's significant.
Yeah, and their market size for 2025 is estimated at 1,104.07 million US dollars. The CGR there is projected at 5.0% through 2033.
$16 billion. Wow. And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the major player.
Dominantly, yes. The U.S. market alone is pegged at about USD 12.7 billion in 2025, with a 4.8% growth rate. Canada and Mexico are significant too, of course, around 1.9 billion and 1.5 billion respectively.
What makes North America such a hub for this?
Well, the report really highlights their advanced healthcare infrastructure. Plus, there's just significant investment going into medical tech. They're kind of primed for it.
That makes sense. They have the foundation. Okay, let's hop across the pond to Europe. How are things looking there?
Europe is also a major player. They account for over 29% of global revenue.
Okay, so not far behind North America.
Not at all. Their 2025 market size is estimated at USD 1.622.11 million. And interestingly, their projected CGR is a bit higher at 5.6%.
So growing slightly faster. Let's look at some specific countries in Europe.
Sure. The UK comes in at about USD 2.1 billion with a strong 6.4% CAGR. Germany is actually larger, nearly USD 2.5 billion with a 5.8% growth rate.
Okay.
Then you have France around 1.16 billion, Italy just under 1.1 billion. Russia and Spain also have decent-sized markets mentioned.
It's interesting how the growth rates vary quite a bit there. Any reasons highlighted?
Yeah, the report mentions, for instance, the NHS in the UK really pushing for automation to improve efficiency. And Germany, well, it has that strong tech focus and advanced healthcare system already.
Right, so a mix of policy and just inherent tech strength. Now let's talk about Asia-Pacific APAC, often a hotbed for tech growth.
And it definitely is here, too. APAC holds around 24% of the global revenue currently, so about USD 10.4 billion in 2025.
Okay.
But the really big story is the growth rate. The projected CGR for APAC is a massive 9.2% between 2025 and 2033.
9.2%. That's significantly faster than North America or Europe. What's driving that surge?
A lot of factors. China is a huge part of it. Their market is estimated at almost USD 4.4 billion with 8.7% growth. Japan's significant too, around 1.4 billion.
And India. I often hear about rapid tech adoption there.
Absolutely. India's market is about USD 1 billion, but the CAGR is projected at an incredible 11.1%.
Wow.
South Korea, Australia, Singapore, all showing really strong growth rates as well, mostly in the 8-9% range.
So what specific automation areas are booming in APAC?
The report really points to AI in medical imaging and diagnostics. Using AI to analyze scans, help with diagnoses, that's taking off rapidly.
Ah, that makes sense, especially with large populations and maybe a need to scale diagnostics efficiently.
Exactly. They're investing heavily in things like AI-powered radiography, pathology, even robot-assisted surgery.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift gears to South America. What's the picture there?
South America holds a smaller share, just over 4% of global revenue. The market size is around USD 1.65 billion in 2025.
That's still growing.
Yes, definitely. The projected CAGR is 7.2%, which is quite respectable.
Who are the main players within South America?
Brazil's the largest, around USD 708 million with a 7.8% CAGR. Argentina is next, about USD 278 million, but with a slightly higher growth rate, 8.1%.
And what's driving the adoption there? Any specific trends?
Telemedicine seems to be a key factor mentioned, using automated telehealth platforms, AI for remote monitoring, especially to reach rural or underserved areas.
Right, bridging geographical gaps. That's a powerful use case. Okay, next up, the Middle East.
The Middle East accounts for roughly 4% of the global market as well, about USD 1.74 billion in 2025.
And their growth.
Pretty strong, actually. A TR of 7.8% is projected.
Which countries are leading the charge there?
Saudi Arabia has a fairly large market, over USD 600 million, with an 8.1% CAGR GAE. The UAE is also significant, around USD 360 million, growing at 8.3%. Turkey, Qatar, Egypt are also mentioned with solid growth.
What's fueling this in the Middle East?
It seems to be a combination of government initiatives pushing for healthcare modernization
Okay.
and investments in things like smart hospitals. So robotic surgery, AI diagnostics, automated management systems, digital health records. It's quite broad.
So, strong top-down support for tech integration. Finally, let's look at Africa.
Africa represents the smallest regional share currently, about 2.2%. That translates to roughly USD 957 million in 2025.
Still almost $1 billion. And the growth outlook.
A CAGR of 6.8% is projected, so it's certainly growing.
And within Africa.
South Africa is the largest market by a fair bit, around USD 337 million, with 7.7% growth. Nigeria is mentioned too, about USD 76 million, growing at 7.0%.
What's the specific angle for automation adoption in Africa, according to the report?
A key point highlighted is using automation to help address workforce shortages,
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
especially in areas like Nigeria. Using automated systems for, say, diagnostics or basic monitoring can help stretch limited healthcare professional resources further and improve access.
A very practical application. Okay, so we've toured the globe. The report also slices the market by how the tech is used, the applications. What are those main categories?
Yes, they break it down into a few key areas. There's therapeutic automation, surgical robots, things directly involved in treatment.
Got it.
Then lab and pharmacy automation, streamlining those workflows. Logistics and training automation, managing supplies, training staff. And finally, diagnostics and monitoring automation.
Okay, quite a range. Which of those is the biggest slice of the pie right now?
The report suggests lab and pharmacy automation likely holds the largest share.
Which seems logical given the volume and need for accuracy there.
Exactly. The demand for efficiency, accuracy, cost reduction in labs and dispensing meds is huge. Automation is almost essential now.
But which area is growing the fastest?
That would be therapeutic automation.
Ah, the treatment side. Why is that?
Well, it's driven by the demand for more precise procedures, better patient outcomes, things like robot-assisted minimally invasive surgery that offers real benefits like faster recovery, and adoption is accelerating.
So direct patient treatment tech is expanding rapidly. Now, what about the end users? Who is actually buying and implementing all this automation?
The report looks at that too. Key categories are pharmacies, research institutes and labs, home care settings, and then a general others category.
And who's the biggest user group currently? Let me guess, pharmacies.
You got it. Pharmacies hold the largest share, which fits perfectly with lab and pharmacy automation being the biggest application area. Precision in filling prescriptions, inventory control, it's crucial.
Makes sense. And where's the fastest growth among end users?
That appears to be in the research institutes and labs segment.
Interesting. Why there?
Just the sheer volume and complexity of modern research, drug discovery, genetic sequencing, advanced diagnostics, they all require high throughput, precision, and complex data analysis. Automation is really vital for that.
So R&D is really leaning into automation. Okay, every market has its push and pull factors. What are the main drivers pushing healthcare automation forward?
The report highlights three main ones. First, just the increasing demand for more efficient healthcare overall, dealing with costs, patient numbers.
Yeah, efficiency is always key.
Second, the rising burden of chronic diseases, which need ongoing, often complex management. And third, the wider adoption of what's called robotic process automation, or RPA, using software bots for administrative tasks.
Okay, those are strong forces. What about the brakes? What's holding back even faster adoption?
Two main restraints are mentioned. The big one is often the high initial capital investment needed for a lot of this tech.
It's not cheap, I imagine.
Not at all. And the second is navigating the complex web of regulations and compliance issues in healthcare. That can definitely slow things down.
Right, the cost barrier and the red tape. Are there any major trends shaping the future that the report points out?
Yes, two big ones. The continued integration of AI, especially in diagnostics, making disease detection faster and more accurate.
We touched on that with APAC.
Exactly. And the other is the growing use of RPA for those back-office administrative tasks, basically automating the paperwork to free up human staff for more critical work.
So AI for clinical tasks, RPA for admin. Got it. Finally, what about the companies involved? Who are the big players?
It's described as a very dynamic and competitive space. You've got the major established names like Siemens Healthineers, GE Healthcare, Medtronic, Philips,
The usual suspects in medtech.
pretty much. And their strategies involve the usual mixed partnerships, acquisitions, lots of R&D spending to stay ahead.
Any specific examples of recent moves?
Yeah, the report mentions a couple. In May 2023, a company called MMT acquired Somex Automation, which makes automation solutions for medical device manufacturing.
Okay.
And back in June 2022, BD Becton Dickinson acquired Parata Systems, a big player in pharmacy automation, for a hefty sum.
So consolidation and strategic buys are definitely happening.
Absolutely. It shows how valuable this market is seen to be.
Well, this has been a really thorough deep dive into that cognitive market research report. It's clear healthcare automation is massive, it's growing globally, and APAC is really setting a blistering pace.
Yeah, driven by that need for efficiency, managing chronic diseases, but facing hurdles like cost and regulation.
And those key trends of AI and diagnostics and RPA and administration seem set to really define the next phase.
Definitely. So the big question this leaves you with, perhaps, is thinking about the real-world impact. How will all this automation change healthcare accessibility?
Right, and what does it mean for the roles of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, researchers? How do their jobs evolve?
Exactly. As this tech becomes more embedded, what new possibilities open up? What challenges arise? Hopefully this deep dive gives you some food for thought on where healthcare might be heading.